Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 as we take a look at the qualifying session we've just had here in Canada. I say here, I'm not in Canada, I'm in North Wales, but that's beside the point. Firstly, make sure you subscribe, that's the rules. Let's talk about it. If you weren't aware, it's a little bit wet out there. We have a little bit of a damp start in Q1. Zhou goes out and has a power issue and retires his car on the side of the road. That brings out a red flag, but not for long because then it turns out his car was fine. He manages to get back to the pits and everything's fine again. We start the session again and Zhou's just fine. It was very strange. I've never actually seen a car pull over to the side of the road, then they give the driver the instructions how to restart the car, and that actually restarts the car. I don't think that's ever happened before, but here we are. Then we have to have guys setting lap times over and over and over again on the inters, and within the last 30 seconds it starts to get a little bit dry, and then there's just purple sectors everywhere. Just everyone's time's going up and down, up and down, up and down, but at the end, here were the guys in the drop zone at the end, were Zhou, Sargent, De Vries, Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda, but there was impeding all over the place. Carlos Sainz, wow. I don't think he's going to get a penalty for this. I think he's going to get several penalties throughout this entire session because he has kept on parking it just up before the last chicane. He impeded about 4 guys across the entire 3 sessions, so he's definitely getting a penalty. Hamilton impeding Stroll. I don't know if this one came up in investigating, but Stroll goes down the inside of Hamilton onto the hairpin, and Hamilton just steers into him and only sees him last minute. Goes on the radio saying he couldn't see him because his mirrors were dirty. So maybe that's why they haven't investigated him, but I do think really that should be investigated as impeding. Yuki Tsunoda was impeding Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc called him a naughty 4-letter word. Don't know which one, but he did. So I think we're going to see penalties for Sainz and Yuki. Maybe Hamilton, I think he may have just got away with it. On to Q2 now, though. So Norris goes out on the inters, but starts discussing maybe they should have gone out on the slicks. Albon has gone out on the soft tyres at the start of the session. Lance Stroll is on the intermediates, but he has a big spin and nearly hits the wall, but manages to keep it out, just kind of grazing the front wing. They do replace it, but he was very lucky to not have his qualifying ending there. Max Verstappen picks from the inters to the softs. This is when Alex Albon goes at the top of the session on the soft tyres. Alonso, though, who's on the inters, he goes second, but he was only 0.3 off, so the gap between the inters and the softs was not that big. Everyone then pits the softs, apart from the 2 Mercs and Lance Stroll. Then a couple minutes later, everyone's on the softs, apart from Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez was in the drop zone at this point. The rain gets heavier, and he's got to try and find half a second. I mean, the commentators were gassing it up as it was something that was actually possible. Obviously, it wasn't. Stroll is then impeding Ocon, so I wouldn't be surprised if Stroll got a penalty there. And Stroll was out, along with Bottas in 15th, Magnussen 14th, Stroll 13th, as I said, Sergio Perez in 12th, Charles Leclerc in 11th. It's back-to-back exits before Q3 for Charles Leclerc. It's 3 in a row in terms of no Q3 for Sergio Perez. Bad qualifying for those guys there. Stroll disappointed in 13th with a possible penalty on the way for impeding. The rain really mixing stuff up. Albon finishes that session on top, being able to get out there early, a lap on the soft tyres. Really great stuff from him, looking really good. We will move on now, though, to Q3, where once again it's not good enough for softs, so they go out on the intermediates again. A few guys getting a few laps in. Max is able to get 2 laps in. Everyone else is able to get 1 lap in before Oscar Piastri spins it into the wall, which brings out the red flag. Just as the red flag comes out, Nico Hulkenberg puts a lap in, which is good enough to give him 2nd place. When the red flag period is over, though, the rain has got heavier and no one is able to set a better lap time, and the session ends with all the cars already in the pit lane and all the drivers out of the car. fact, we have what is quite an incredible top 10 here. So, in 10th place was Alex Albon. After a fantastic Q2, he didn't even set a time in Q3, so 10th place for him. Piastri gets P9, even though he ended in the wall. Looking at that, he may need a gearbox change, so that might be a penalty for him, maybe not, we'll have to wait and see. Sainz starts in P8, but I imagine he will have multiple penalties coming his way. Norris is 7th, then it's Ocon in P6. George Russell is 5th, Hamilton 4th, Fernando Alonso in 3rd place. 2nd place is Nico Hulkenberg in the Haas. Incredible lap time for him there. We know he's good in the wet. We know he's good at qualifying. He put it all together there. I imagine tomorrow he'll go backwards quite severely, but it doesn't matter. For now, we'll celebrate Nico Hulkenberg in 2nd place. And then the man on pole is Max Verstappen. Who else? He's on the roll of his life at the minute. He's got a fantastic car beneath him, and he's brilliant in the wet. He took pole position by 1.244 seconds. Unbelievable stuff. Absolutely incredible drive. Sets up for a really interesting race tomorrow, which is looking like it's going to be a dry one. So the guys who are quick in the wet might not necessarily be quick in the dry. I expect to see the likes of Nico Hulkenberg to go down a bit. I think but someone who might shine is the AlphaTauris. We know their car doesn't work very well in the wet, but it works relatively well in the dry. I think we'll see Tsunoda and De Vries making a few overtakes through the grid there. We're, any minute now I expect to hear penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty for the likes of Sainz, Stroll. Who else is there? Who else did I write down? Yuki. I think Yuki will be starting from the back. Stroll will get a penalty. Sainz will get a penalty. Maybe Hamilton. He might get away with it, though. We'll wait and see. That's all I've really got to say for you there. It's a quick one. Only a quick one today, but it was an action-packed qualifying. We'll be back again tomorrow for the race. I can't wait to see you there. Have a lovely Sunday. Goodbye.